Builds Tech Skills Program for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. My name is Antonia, and I'm a data scientist at AWS, and I'm also one of your hosts for today. And with me today is my co-host, Vicky. Would you like to introduce yourself, please, Vicky?
Yeah, thank you so much, Antonia. Hi, everybody, and welcome. I am Vicky Graciano, and I am a solutions architect based in Amsterdam. I'm so happy for being here in front of the camera again.
Perfect. Yeah, and before getting started, for those of you who join us for the first time, this show is only a few months old. Maybe we're turning one in a few days. And the She Builds Tech Skills program is designed to offer hands-on workshops, demos, and discussions around technical skills, specifically focusing on our current and potential future female builders. Talking about discussions, feel free to ask all your questions that you have in the chat, and our speakers and the co-hosts will be very happy to answer those. And in case you've missed any of our past episodes, we're also uploading all episodes to YouTube in case you want to check them out as well. But back to today's episode. So, Vicky, who do we have with us today?
Yeah, well, today we have very special two guests from a region that we haven't had guests before, and that has been mentioned a lot recently. So we are going to discuss that briefly in a minute. They are both public sector essays in Madrid. Personally, I'm so happy for having them here today because I started together my AWS journey with them almost 2 years ago, close to 2 years ago. So thank you so much, Irene and Christina, for being here in this show. Maybe you can introduce yourselves.
Thank you, Vicky. I'm super happy for being here. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, as you said, I'm solutions architect based in Madrid. I've been here for a long time now, working with customers. And yeah, looking forward for today.
Thank you, and nice to meet you, everyone. It's great to be here. My name is Cristina. I'm a solutions architect based in Madrid, working with public sector customers all across Europe, Middle East, and Africa, especially in Spain due to the language, obviously. And yeah, I mean, very, very happy to share with you today some cool stuff about security.
Nice. And just before starting with this exciting topic, we would like to share some announcements that are very important. So, because exactly one of them is from your region. So this month, we have announced 2 new regions in Europe. The first one was announced at the beginning of the month, the Zurich region in Switzerland. So we are covering that area as well. And just last week, we announced the Spain region. So perfect timing, girls, to discuss about that. We have heard and we have read a lot in the news, but we would like to know more from your side. You are in Madrid. How have you lived the announcement of this new region?
Yeah, sure, Vicky. So the announcement has been great. It's something that customers waited a long time to have, and now it's finally here. It happened just last week, so it's very recent. And now we're very happy because customers will be able to have their applications in Spain, and especially for public sector customers, they have some specific requirements to keep the data inside the country, so data residency requirements, and now they will be able to meet those requirements by having data and workloads inside Spain. So yeah, pretty exciting news for all of us.
Nice. And I guess that for you in public sector, this is perfect, right?
Yes.
Nice. And also I saw some celebrations. Is that true happen? It was just like, okay, we have a new region, or how was that?
Yeah, so we've had a few sessions in the office with some Amazon swag and food to share and balloons. So yeah, it's been fun. We've had a lot of sessions, on how to understand this new region, how to talk to customers about it, and yeah, it has somehow strengthened our relationship between Madrid office and also other offices in Spain.
Awesome. Glad to hear that you enjoyed some tapas, the typical Spanish way of celebrating. But back to today's topic. So the topic is called security a top priority for us, probably also for our customers. So maybe, do you want to shed some light? Is the cloud really secure? That's a question that I hear a lot from my customers. And why is security a top priority?
Yes, so this question indeed comes a lot. And we have to say security is really the top priority for AWS and our customers. So everything starts from security. And we have something called the shared responsibility model. So very important. This states that AWS is responsible for the security of the cloud. This means all the infrastructure where customers can run their applications. So the physical stuff, if we could say that. So the hardware, part of the software, the networking, all that would be our responsibility. But then part of the responsibility remains on the customer side. That's what we say security in the cloud. So that would be, what do they actually run on the cloud, their data, their workloads. And then depending on the services customers choose, right? Because we have Amazon EC2, for instance, or virtual machine server on the cloud. So in that case, the customer will be in charge of the operating system, the patching, and obviously the data. But then we have what we call the abstracted services that really make things easier for the customer. So they have to manage less, less management tasks, such as Amazon S3 or object storage service, where they really, like, the responsibility of the customer is really to manage their data and, for example, encrypt it if they wish to do so. But on all the underlying security will be our responsibility. And here, I would like to add that the security as top priority is that AWS is actively running sessions to improve the security posture of our customers. So for instance, in the team Irene and I belong, in the past few months, we've reached out to many customers on a one-to-one to help them improve their security posture. And also we've run webinars and activation days, which are deep dives on specific security services with workshops. And we are like very open to hear about our customers and their specific use cases and help them improve their posture.
Nice. So when you mentioned security, well, maybe do you know which are the most common attacks that we experience on the cloud?
Yeah, so as we have seen during these past years from our customers and on the cloud environment, the most common threats, given the exposure of their workloads to the internet, is the denial of service attacks, even distributed denial of service attacks, also credentials stolen, maybe the credentials to access their AWS accounts, the resources, those credentials are stolen by someone. They can then access your data, even delete all your data, blackmail you for that if you don't have, or even you can lose it if you don't have the proper backups and security measures. Also, we have seen that one of the important main threats are the misconfiguration. So human errors that maybe our customers are not aware that they should follow some best practices, like granting the least privilege, and they give permissions open to everyone. There could be some bad people within the company, for example, and they do bad things on the resources. And even mining of cryptocurrencies. We have seen some customers, they identify that their compute usage increased a lot for months. They weren't able to identify why. And then after some months, they realized that someone internal was mining some cryptocurrency. So that is also a kind of attack. So we will see later how can we avoid these attacks. We will have a demo showing it. So yeah, I would say that those are the main threats.
And you've mentioned that human errors most of the times the root cause for security leaks. And And I suppose that also for our AWS customers, it's completely overwhelming. Where should we start? There's so many different services. There's so many different attacks and different security concerns. So where should we start to make security top priority for our customers?
Yeah, so this is also a question that we get a lot, because indeed there are a lot of services out there, but we see this as a positive thing. It's great that we have a lot of services because each of them will tackle one specific need, will have one specific function. So we achieve that granularity when we operate in the cloud. So when we think about security in the cloud, we need to think of 6 areas, 6 of them. So first one is identity and access management. So it's who can access what. Second one is infrastructure protection. So here we could think of a firewall, for instance, but not only that, of course. Then we would think of data protection. This is mostly related with encryption, but not only that. Then we would think of detection, so analyzing what's going on, the logs, for instance, and then seeing if there is some unusual pattern there. Then when we have detected something, we have incident response. So how do we respond to what we have identified? If there is something unusual, how do we respond? Or if we identify an attack or something, we need to have a reaction, right? And then the final one is compliance. So in case there is some regulations to be met, such as GDPR, so that is also to be considered. So these 6 areas must be taken into account. And then, okay, how to start? Well, we have tools in the AWS console that make these areas like easier to identify. One of them I would like to mention is Trusted Advisor. So this tool will run checks in many aspects. One of these aspects is security, and it can tell you, for example, hey, you have exposed a S3 bucket publicly, for example. So you will know, oh, okay, maybe this shouldn't be happening. Let's do something. And then we have another tool, which solutions architects, we use a lot. It's called the well-architected tool. So it basically, it has, okay, many pillars with recommendations on how to run following best practices in the cloud. One of these pillars is security. So the tool will show you several questions of all these 6 areas I mentioned. You will respond to these questions based on the workloads that you run, and then you will get recommendations on all of these questions. So you make sure that these 6 areas are covered and that you're safe. And then obviously in AWS, account management team, solutions architects, and all documentation, we are available to help customers move forward.
Nice. I think that you mentioned one of the areas is compliance. And I think we can take the time to answer one of the audience questions, that it's indeed related also to the announcement of the region in Spain. So they ask in regards of compliance, what were the problems that customers faced before, for instance, in public sector? I don't know if you can share a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. I wouldn't say a problem, but what usually happens is that some of the customers believe that only for being in AWS, they will, let's say, meet automatically some of the compliance requirements. And here I go back to the shared responsibility model, right? Because it's very important to clarify that security and compliance, it's a two-side responsibility. So we in AWS, we offer all types of documents, guidance, and ways to meet compliance requirements, but it is each customer who needs to identify which regulations are needed for them and how they can build upon that in AWS. One example would be, as I shared at the beginning, some customers need to maintain the data within the country or within the European Union. And now with the new region and, okay, other European regions, well, they can.
Nice. So that's the answer, and it's a very important point, and again, perfect timing for the region, and always coming from the public sector. I guess you have nice stories to share. So thank you. So yeah, you are already discussing about different threats that we can experience, how to be aware of what's going on in our infrastructure. But how can we really improve the security, right? Do you have some services in mind that can be used out of all these different areas that you mentioned?
Yeah, so as Christina said, we have many services, but they are there because they have a specific use case for each customer. So it will depend what the customer's needs and or what they want to achieve. But I will say we have 4 services that we consider quick wins. They are really easy to enable, really easy to configure, and it will provide you a big security layer. So the first one is Amazon Guard Duty. Is the one that we always recommend to every customer because it's independent of their specific use case. It is basically a tool that detects threats. So it will continuously monitor your account, all the resources in your AWS account, or even if you have several accounts under the same AWS organization, it will monitor everything. It will detect malicious activity, anomalous behavior. So for example, if someone is trying to do some attacks on your account or is accessing from somewhere that is not commonly accessed by, so it will help you detect those, and then you can take some action. So we will see more in detail that with demo with Christina. Then another service really used is the AWS WAF, so the web application firewall. Almost every customer that has a web application that is exposed to the internet, they add this web application firewall to it. So you can block all the traffic at the application layer. So you can block bots requests, for example, requests for common bad IPs, so malicious IPs and anonymous IPs. There are some predefined rules that you can really see activate, and we will also show you a demo after, so you can see more of it. And then the other two services that we also recommend is config. They are also very common. AWS config. This is basically when you have several people launching resources in your account or even in your different accounts on your organization. Maybe the administrator want to keep a predefined configuration and maybe receive some alert if someone is not, I don't know, maybe they created an S3 bucket with access to the internet, and it is not what you want. You will receive an alert. So you create a config rule, and you receive an alert whenever something is not as you defined previously. And then the other service is Secrets Manager. It is really useful for storing database passwords, for example, API keys, SSH keys. So for all these secrets that you may have on your application, you create the secret. This service will automatically encrypt it. You can activate the rotation of these credentials. So, for example, every month, every 3 months, this is a good practice to rotate your credentials. So this service will help you managing these secrets, password, and keys. So we have many more, but I would say these 4 are the most useful one for different type of use cases.
Awesome, perfect. Yeah, I guess we wouldn't be a She Builds Tech Skills episode if there wouldn't be any hands-on workshop. And I guess since you already said how we can get started with security in the cloud, I think you've prepared a demo for us, correct?
Yes, I'm gonna start by sharing with you the service Guard Duty. Can you confirm that you see my screen? Okay, perfect. So here I am in the AWS console. You might be familiar with it. I am in Ireland region, and I'm gonna navigate to the service Guard Duty. I have, for this simulation, a couple of EC2 instances running, so a couple of virtual machines, and I have run, again, for this demo purpose, simulation. So guard duty can detect some threats, right? So here you see on the guard duty panel some of guard duty findings. So I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. So there is, for example, EC2 brute force attack, cryptocurrency, unauthorized access, SSH brute force, several threats of our EC2 instances. Then you have in this panel also the severity of these findings, so they are categorized. And here I'm going to show you one that Irene spoke a little bit before. So what happens if we have this cryptocurrency? Here we get all the information. Guard duty is telling us that this EC2 instance is querying a domain name that is associated with Bitcoin related activity. So we get all the information regarding this threat. It's a high severity. It's located in Ireland region. Here we have a little bit more of information about that, the resource affected, instance details, instance type, tagging, network information. Here we get, for instance, that it's a UDP protocol, and many other key points. But then the interesting thing is to actually go to the resource, right? So we know that this resource is, let's say, dangerous. So when we go to the EC2 instance panel, this is directly the instance that is a threat. So if I go here, I get all details about this instance and how to mitigate this, right? That would be the question. So here we could think of limiting, for example, outbound traffic through modifying the security groups. And we could also think of limiting this traffic on a subnet level by using access control lists, right? So that would be an example. Then if I go back to other findings, there is also another functionality that can scan for malware. So here we have an example of also an EC2 instance that has been infected. And then there are very cool functionalities, I would say, because here, for instance, we can define a list of IP addresses that we trust, a list of IP addresses that we know they're safe. So it's not necessary that guard duty, generate findings for them. And then the opposite, we can have here a list of IP addresses that we know they're dangerous. So we want guard duty to be aware of that and to generate findings to protect. Then the service also allows S3 protection. Again, S3 is our object storage service, EKS for customers using our service for Kubernetes, malware protection, and in accounts. This is also very interesting because it integrates with AWS organizations in case you're using that for your multi-account strategy. And just a brief remark, it's a regional service. So if you want to enable it, you need to enable it per account and per region. And then to end just this overview of the service, if we go to usage, here it's a demonstration. So it's I would not say it's too accurate, but this is where you would have an estimation of the cost of the service. And also this breakdown by data source, because guard duty, to show the findings, it takes data from all these places, right? So CloudTrade logs, VPC flow logs, DNS logs, S3 data events, Kubernetes, and malware protection. So all these are sources of information for guard duty to generate findings. And with that said, I would like to give the word to my colleague Irene that will show you the well-architected, the web application firewall.
Maybe just a quick question, Christina. This is the console about the findings. Is there a way or different options that we can receive like notifications, or we should be looking the interface to know what's going on?
Yes, indeed, this service can be integrated with notification services such as SNS, and then it can also be integrated with, for example, Lambda functions that can actually trigger actions based on these findings. So actually, that is the whole point. So once we detect these threats, to act upon them. So it's possible to integrate the service with others to mitigate.
Nice. Nice. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so we can see now the WAF demo. Let's see. Okay. Just 1 second. Okay. So I have already created a web application firewall in my AWS account. So I go to the WAF and Seal service. I open the console, and you can see here my WAF. It's called test WAF. So I can associate my web application firewall to different resources. If I go here to associated AWS resources, I can select either an API gateway, an application load balancer, Cognito user pools, and AppSync. And also, it can be added into a CloudFront distribution, but you have to go directly into the CloudFront service in order to add your AWS WAF. In this case, I have 2 application load balancers associated with my WAF. So the next step will be creating some rules. So if I go to the rules tab, you can see here that I have several rules already created with different priorities. So let's create a new one. Let's see the options to do that. So we click here on add rules. We can create our own rules. So for example, we can create an IP set. So we choose the IP set, as we have to create it first, select the source IP, the IP address, and define the action. So allow, block these IPs, just count them, maybe to get some action after, and display a CAPTCHA or create a challenge. And we can also customize the response. We can create also not only for IPs, but general rules. So for example, we can inspect from the request the country it is originated, the IP address, the cookies, the URI path, the body, then select an action. So if this matches the statement that we define, then we add some action. So we can block, we can maybe allow just the cookies or the IP, the request coming from a specific country, for example, we can allow them and the other will be blocked. And as well, customize the response and add some labels. And then if we already have a rule group, so a set of rules, we can also add them here. So that would be if we want to create our own rules, but we can leverage the rules that are already created by our security team. So they are really useful. I would suggest start with those ones. So here on Add Managed Rule Groups, you will see a list of them. So AWS managed rule groups, the ones created by our security team, but also for our partners, our security partners. So for example, from a cybersecurity cloud or for Fortinet, and you can read here more about what this rule does, and you can click here to subscribe in the AWS Marketplace. This is where we can subscribe and use the solutions created by our partners. So we can either choose this partner solution or AWS Managed, or both of them. So the AWS Managed rule groups, we have here the account takeover prevention. And to enable it, you just have to click here and it will be automatically activated, or the bot control. It's the one that I have already. You can see here more information about it, a subscription fee that you have to pay for this service. And then there are some free rule groups that they don't have any additional fees. So just for you pay for having the rule and for all the requests inspected with by these rules. So for example, admin protection. So rules that allow you to block external access to expose admin pages. Amazon IP reputation list. So this group contains rules that are based on Amazon threat intelligence. So IPs that we know that they are not very good. anonymous IP list, core rule set. This is very useful as well. Then some rules based on a specific operating system like Linux, or even POSIX for specific applications like PHP, for SQL databases, for injection attacks, Windows, and WordPress applications. So then once you click and select which rules do you want to add, it will start blocking your request. Then another interesting feature is the bot control that I have enabled, as I said before. Here on the bot control section, we can either explore the account takeover prevention, but in this case, I just have the bot control enabled. So let's see what is happening in my WAF. So if I expand it to 1 week, I can see here how many requests from bots were blocked during this week. So 3.86% of the requests were bot requests, and they were blocked. I can see here throughout the time what happened with all those requests. Then we can see here the bot category, browse some bot activity, and then an interesting information coming from the bot control is here. So this is the overview panel. We will have here an aggregate of all the rules that are active on my AWS WAF and how they are being triggered. And we can see here the requests, some samples of requests from the past 3 hours. So for example, I received from this specific source IP to this URI from this specific country, and it was allowed. My WAF was configured to allow this one, but there could be some blocks, as you can see here. The rule that was triggered was bot control rule set, so it identified this request as a bot, so it blocked, the WAF blocked them. This was coming from US, okay, so we can see from different countries and the endpoint of the request. So this is very useful to easily block this type of bots if we don't want to have them requesting our application. Also for denial of service, this is quite useful. So we have here the overview, the rules, bot control, the associated AWS resources, but we can also customize the response body, so the HTML to show to the requester when a request is blocked, for example, and then do some logging and monitoring here with all the metrics that we have from the WAF. Yeah.
Thank you, Irina, for the demo. We also have a question from one of our viewers. He or she is interested in the following question. How does it use an ACL instead of security group if it's security at an instance and not a VPC service?
Yeah, so here I'd like to clarify that you should still configure your security groups, defining the protocols, the IPs. Like you should still configure your security groups. You should still configure your subnet access control lists, and the web application firewall is an additional layer of security. Okay, that you would configure whether on the load balancer or in the or in a CloudFront distribution. So it's like an extra layer of protection on the application level. So it's not like whether you do ACL, whether you do security group, whether you do WAF, you do everything and you'll be more protected.
Yeah, so then it's going to be your top priority.
Yes.
Awesome. So again, we're running over time. Half an hour is always too short for these sessions, but I think, Vicky, we have some exciting episodes or events planned ahead, correct? You are still on mute.
As always, that couldn't list. Okay, so let's discuss about the most exciting event of the year, which is re:Invent 2022, happening in Las Vegas, on site in Las Vegas. So if you are not able to attend re:Invent in person, don't worry, you can register for the free virtual access, where you are going to be able to view the keynotes, leadership sessions, and gain access to the sessions on demand after the event has finished. So that's happening next week. It starts on Monday. So also take or keep an eye on this Twitch channel, AWS, because the entire week we are going to be streaming about re:Invent. So I think that it will be a very exciting week. And yeah, let's discuss that and new announcements next year, because it will be very, very excited.
And I think you're also going to be there in person, correct? All right, right?
Yeah. I will be attending, and also Belisa, which is our other co-host of She Builds episode. Both we are gonna attend. We are gonna do even an interview also for the She Builds show. So let's see how that's going on. And yeah, happy to share after the event what's going on with Vegas and She Builds, all the announcements. So I'm so excited as well about this. Hopefully everyone is also excited. And just before closing the session, also we just share some links in the comment section. So if you are still interested to know more about the security topic and start playing a little bit and how to improve the security in your workloads, our guests share some links that can be useful for you. So just take them, copy and paste to avoid forgetting after this session. And yeah, that's all. And well, we are not sad, but this is the last episode of this year for us, for the She Builds episode, because we are going to be taking some very well-deserved time off. So hopefully that all of you can take also this time off and coming back on January 24. So enjoy your holidays and join us in 2023. So thank you so much, guests, Irene, Christina, for having here a very interesting topic around security. Thank you so much, Antonia, also for co-hosting this session with me. And I don't know if there is something else you would like to add.
I would say enjoy re:Invent.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gareth. Thank you so much, everybody, and see you next year.
See you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye bye.